Good morning, Unity of Delray. I feel so honored and I feel so blessed to be with you again this morning. I always feel so grateful when I get to connect with your community and be with you. Now, I know that today is a little different than usual, but nevertheless, I feel your energy and I feel our connection, and I just am grateful for the space that you have created. Now, if we have shared this time together, if you've been at one of the services that I showed up at, you'll know that I normally show up with a joke. You may remember yourself laughing at my joke. You may remember yourself groaning at my jokes. Regardless of that, nevertheless, I brought a joke. So, how is it that you make holy water? You burn the hell out of it. So I don't know whether you laughed or you groaned in this moment, but regardless of that and beyond that, I do believe that that joke has a deeper meaning, deeper significance. And especially now, it's so appropriate because I know that we are all moving through a challenge. We are moving through trials, and we are really moving through a crisis. Individually, as a community, collectively, as a human family, we are moving through these challenging times, these times of crisis. And I believe that if we allow ourselves to experience them in the place of spirit, that we will recognize that in the midst of this crisis, we are also able to open ourselves to the movement of spirit within this time. And that movement of spirit is going to be opening us up to a deeper understanding of our truth, a deeper understanding of the truth of all humanity, our relationship to God, our relationship with each other. And so, as difficult and challenging as these times are, and as there are moments of sadness and stress and anxiety and fear within them, there are also moments of possibility. There are also moments when we can really step into this time with an awareness that there is a higher vision for the ways in which we individually and collectively will rise up through this challenging time. And I have to say that in owning that possibility, one of the things that I've been very aware of is that we have to show ourselves a little self-love and self-compassion. These are unprecedented times, and we are really being made to shift and change a lot of the ways in which we have thought ourselves to be, right? I had an experience a couple of weeks ago when my son, I have a 7-year-old son, we're homeschooling him now. And so I, had to sit down with him one day and oversee his studies. And I had this idea that he had to be the perfect student. And I had this idea that I had to be this perfect father to him in making him a perfect student. And it was really difficult for him to concentrate. It was really difficult for him to get the hang of virtual school. And I was really getting into a lot of stress and anxiety until I realized, wow, we're here really just doing the best that we can. Doing the best that we can with what our current situation is. And that in this moment, rather than getting hard on myself for not measuring up to the ways in which I needed to be, that I could really allow myself to just try it out and to try to experience the situation in a different way, recognizing that as I let go of the idea of how I was supposed to be, what it meant for me to be the perfect father, the perfect person, the perfect minister, I was really giving freedom and openness to spirit being the ones to move me through that challenge and that experience. And that I could hold the space for this possibility and this expansion by being gentle with myself as I also realized that there was this higher vision that I had for the ways in which I wanted to show up. So it was a balance of both, of really being gentle with myself while also allowing myself to be pulled by a greater vision of how I wanted to show up. And I think that that's one of the opportunities that we have as a human family, as a community, to be gentle with ourselves while also holding a higher vision of who we are meant to be and who we are going to allow ourselves to more fully embody through this challenge. And so it's an opportunity for us to be conscientious of not letting the challenge get the best of us, but for us to get the best out of the challenge. That is, what is the highest version of who we are that is meaning and that is pushing to be fully expressed and fully embodied and fully known in this moment of crisis and in this moment of challenge. For me, that is part of the purification, letting go of that which is no longer serving us and really stepping into the truth of our being. People everywhere on earth are now realizing as never before that the well-being of this world rests in its inhabitants. It is no longer a religious dogma or a philosophical theory that the destiny of the race is in the hands of all of us. God has given all things to us to use as we shall determine. Charles Fillmore, co-founder, said those words. God has given us all things to us to use as we shall determine. So how are we determining how we are using that which is the core of our being, that which he has given to us? And what has he given to us? I'm reminded of the verse from 2 Timothy chapter 7, verse 7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline. How can we use that power of self-discipline to be able to move through this experience and understand our own power and our own ability to love in deeper and more expansive ways here and now? I love that we are just in the heels of having celebrated Easter Sunday and really Holy Week, because it's a reminder that Jesus himself went through trials and tribulations, went through a moment of crisis. But what resulted out of him stepping through that crisis and that challenge with a higher vision of what was to be was his resurrection, was the lifting of the consciousness of humanity, of being able to show us how we are able to ourselves own our truth, own our own Christhood. And so I believe that when Jesus entered Holy Week through Palm Sunday, that he was, aware of some of what was to be, right? He knew there were some things that were going to be taking place, but there was still some unknowns to him. I could imagine that there were still some unknowns. Even after the Last Supper, when he really goes into prayer and even asks whether this cup can be taken from him, right? There was some unknowns to him. And yet I believe that he was pulled by a higher vision. He knew that he was moving through this challenge and through this crisis, but as a result of it, humanity would be able to take a quantum leap in consciousness. So can we hold that for ourselves here and now through our trials and tribulations, through our challenge, personal and for the human family? Can we be gentle with ourselves and hold the vision that there will be a quantum jump in consciousness as a result of it, and that we ourselves are the ways in which this quantum jump can take place? And to be able to experience that quantum jump, to be able to more fully go into our truth and all that God has given us to meet this challenge, we must have perseverance of spirit. And it's within us, right? The reason why I know that we've got this, the reason that I know that we will be pulled by a higher vision and that the divine potential that is in this moment will be realized is because we have done it before. whether you have done it through a particular challenge that you've experienced in your life, whether humanity has done it as a human family when we've experienced moments of crisis for the human family, whether it's even going into the own evolution of the universe. We have met crisis and allowed crisis to be what catapults us into a new way of being. Martha Smock, who was the editor of Daily Word for many decades, said, "If we ever feel that we lack the quality of perseverance, if we feel like giving up, let us remember how many things we have done in our lifetime that seem difficult or impossible, beginning with our first baby steps." We have done just that. And this is the opportunity for another step, another quantum jump. Barbara Marx Hubbard, who is a futurist that that really inspired me to a different way of understanding my own personal challenges and what is going on in the world. She brought up the history of molecules, the history of the universe, really. Starting off with the Big Bang, right? And the Big Bang created these molecules, and these molecules, there was something within them, this energy, this impulse that made these molecules connect with other molecules. So there was this impulse within to connect. And I believe that impulse was God itself. God is that impulse of evolution, in my view. And so these molecules got together and formed single-cell organisms. And single-cell organisms actually thrived in our world, on Mother Earth. And as it was thriving, though, it was taking all the nutrients from Mother Earth until there was practically none left. And really, all of a sudden, these single-cell organisms were in crisis mode, no more nutrients, what to do? And all of a sudden there was this impulse once again, that God energy moving through and as us in those moments through those single-cell organisms that allowed one of the molecules within the single-cell organism to all of a sudden create chlorophyll and really begin the process of photosynthesis. So taking the energy of the sun and being able to use that as nutrients, as fuel, as food. And that worked out really well. And so all of a sudden, there was a moment of thriving again. There was a moment of expansion and growth. And all of a sudden, though, there was moments of crisis, because you see, in that process of using photosynthesis, something new had been developed, and that was that oxygen was being created. And these organisms weren't able to live on oxygen. So crisis. And all of a sudden there was this impulse from within, this energy of God inviting us into a more complex way of being, really inviting us to see the possibility in the crisis that allowed those single-cell organisms to come together and create multi-cell organisms that were able to use the oxygen. And so forth and so on. Like, throughout the history of the universe, we have seen that crisis creates a quantum leap in evolution. And we in this moment can take what we are experiencing to know that we will be taking a quantum jump, and that we can do our part in order for humanity to take a quantum jump in consciousness to know our truth at deeper and more expansive ways, to truly purify ourselves into fully stepping in and embodying that Christ energy. That energy that tells us that experience that we get to be a part of, that tells us that we are not in this alone, that we are in this together, that within us is everything that we need to move through any challenge, and that we may even experience in moments of challenge all these faculties, all these powers in greater and greater ways. And so let's not let a challenge get the best of us. Let's get the best out of the challenge. Let us take this quantum leap. Let us have faith that this leap is taking place within my own mind, within my own consciousness, with my own being, and in that of the human family. Martha Smock also said, the persistence of faith, the persistence of belief in the underlying good, the persistence of the belief in the possibility of overcoming has been the strength that has upheld humanity through trials and troubles and brought it forth into new and living ways. The persistence of the belief in the possibility of overcoming has been the strength that has upheld humanity through trials and troubles and brought it forth into new and living ways. What is that new and living way that is asking to come through us? What is the new and more expansive way of being in the world from the place of our own truth and our own divinity that is asking to be expressed, to be shared, to be more fully lived? I invite you during these times of unprecedented challenges, and some challenges that may even seem familiar to us, to truly sit still in times of prayer and meditation and ask, what is asking to be expressed through me? What is asking to be evolved through me? How can I, in this moment, in this experience, be a catalyst for this quantum jump in consciousness? For me, prayer and meditation, especially now, is so important. And also the leaning in on the fact that we have been through crisis before. To know that within us is that power and strength, that perseverance that says, we will get through this. I will get through this. And I will emerge more fully recognizing who I am, more fully recognizing who we are as a human family, more fully recognizing the very ways in which God is here, present in this moment, so that we can experience and move into a deeper awareness of heaven here and now. Not only as a place of consciousness, but truly manifested in this world that needs a breakthrough. We are the breakthrough. Paulo Coelho, an author and inspirational leader, he has a quote that I've used every year around the time of Easter and Palm Sunday. He says, when we least expect it, life sets us a challenge to test our courage and willingness to change. At such a moment, there is no point in pretending that nothing has happened or in saying that we are not yet ready. The challenge will not wait. Life does not look back. Here and now, through the power of prayer, of meditation, of stillness, we can connect to the Christ essence that we are and meet the challenge head on, holding the vision that something is pulling us into a more expansive and deeper understanding and expression of our truth. I hold that. I affirm that. I believe and have faith in that. And I invite you to do the same. To always know that God and love and truth are here. That God and love and truth are here. Namaste, and thanks be to the Christ presence that we are and that we're sharing with the world here and now.